Hi, my name is Isabella Blanchett, and I will be presenting part 2 of the condition presentation for attention deficit hyperactive disorder. And so you've already heard my partner present what ADHD is as a whole, and so my role is to present part 2, which is an article that discusses ADHD and then 3 government sources that kind of further the idea of what ADHD is and what people can click on if they want more information. I'm just gonna click through this. Alright, so the first article that I came across that I really saw a lot of potential in was social and emotional impairment in children and adolescents with ADHD and the impairment of quality on life. And so the article addresses how ADHD is such a prevalent disorder in today's society. ADHD affects between 3 and 7% of all school-age children, and that the male population are more likely to develop ADHD than the female population. It is said that more than 80% of individuals who exhibit ADHD are likely to have another disorder, and 50% of individuals with ADHD are likely to have 2 or more. And so the article separates the impact of ADHD into 3 separate categories. The categories are social impairment, emotional impairment, and the transition between adolescence and adulthood, and overall the impact that ADHD has on the quality of life. So in regards to social impairment, it is stated that children and individuals with ADHD have poor social and communication skills, which is even worse in an individual who exhibits ODD or CD, which is about 60% of the population with ADHD. And so individuals who have ODD or operational defiant disorder are likely to have worse ADHD symptoms. So that's the higher hyperactivity and symptoms such as those. And so due to the individual having ADHD, they're more likely to have conflicts within their life and even within their family, and overall can just create a more stressful environment for their peers, their family, and anyone who kind of comes in contact with them. I just stated that individuals with ADHD really do struggle with peer relationships, and that 70% of children with ADHD may not even have a close friend by 3rd grade, especially if they exhibit the ODD behaviors, which is the heightened symptoms of ADHD. Due to the rejection of society and by even younger children or individuals, due to their behaviors, they're more likely to socialize with deviant friend groups who have also been rejected by society, which kind of furthers the likelihood of the deviant behaviors and the bad behaviors that are often associated with ADHD. In addition to socializing with the friend group, these individuals are more likely to be bullied due to their behaviors or even become a bully themselves due to their rejection. Individuals with ADHD are also more likely to participate in sexual behaviors earlier on than children without ADHD, are more likely not to use contraceptives, and are more likely to become pregnant by the age of 20, which is a startling fact. In the realm of the emotional impairment, these individuals struggle with emotions and overall have more emotional expression, which can further the disturbance within their lives and especially within their families. One of the examples that they use for a disturbance of the family is that children with ADHD, especially with the ODD behaviors, are more likely to become defiant, and so they are more likely to push back on parents who try to monitor how well they do in school, the type of people they see, what they do for work, and even small things like how loud they're watching TV or playing music can sit there and cause such a great disturbance within the family, and especially the individual who's exhibiting the ADHD. Due to the emotions that are involved in ADHD and such, it results in poor self-esteem just due to the constant rejection and overall just how people have interacted with the individual. The individual may feel bad about themselves because they're constantly told that they can control themselves and that they need to gather themselves. It can cause anxiety because they're constantly worried about what people are thinking about them. And even can result in depression or major depression because they feel that their life is being run by their disorder and that they're not able to be themselves and that it truly affects who they are as a person. And so while these behaviors and symptoms can alleviate some in the transition between adolescence to adulthood, so an example is that the hyperactivity that is most often associated with ADHD does become less prevalent as people age into adulthood. It's still there. And so while some of the symptoms alleviate, ADHD is a lifelong disease or disorder. And so people also have to learn that it just doesn't end there. And so it's a constant going on. And while it helps with the transition between adolescence to adulthood, adulthood is still difficult for these individuals. And overall, it has a huge impact on the person's quality of life because ADHD controls so much of the individual on their behaviors, even like the people they hang out with, because their behaviors may cause people not to want to be around them. It might only make it so the deviant friend group is the only friends they have. And so it is stated that the quality of life for a person with ADHD can improve some with treatment specifically around medication, but that it's a long process that is constantly changing and will need constant attention. And so while I was browsing for my article, the article that I just spoke about touches upon the use of substances, and specifically in the area where parents and children may fight over the adolescent's use of things like nicotine. So the adolescent will become more defined around the idea of using substances like nicotine. And so that had sparked a slight curiosity, and I had found a second article that discusses the prospective association of childhood attention or children with ADHD with the use of substances. And so it's called Prospective Association of Childhood Attention Deficit Hyperactive Disorder and Substance Use and Abuse Dependence. And so the article kind of focuses on the idea that ADHD is a predictor for a lot of behaviors, such as a lot of children with ADHD struggle academically, or struggle making friends, or even just containing their emotions, especially emotions such as anger. And so they had came up with this question of whether children with ADHD are more likely to use certain substances. And so through their research, they were able to find that children with ADHD are more likely to use or try nicotine, marijuana, or cocaine, not alcohol. They were not more likely to try alcohol than the average individual. But they did find that the children with ADHD are more likely to become dependent on nicotine, alcohol, marijuana, and cocaine, which kind of loops back into the quality of life that an individual can have, and that, if the individual is now addicted to cocaine or cannot function without nicotine or marijuana, that it does affect the individual's quality of life and overall has the effect on the individual. In addition to the two articles, I found 4 web sources that kind of detail over what ADHD is as a whole and goes over what the symptoms are, what certain treatments are like, the behaviors that are often associated with it, and one of them even discusses on where to go for help, like people who you can contact, and even just like general questions to ask a doctor if an individual you think has ADHD or like the best treatments for it. And so feel free to click on any of the links if you are interested. And there is a list of all my references. It's been a great time. Thank you.